Hey, Jody here with weldingtipsandtricks.com. This week's video I'm showing a lot of clips from Fabtech 2015. Recently got back from Chicago where Fabtech was held this year. What is Fabtech? It's North America's largest welding and fabrication expo. If you weld for a living, if you've never attended a Fabtech expo, I highly recommend it because here's why. Because it's everything and anything that has to do with welding and fabrication under one big roof at one time, and you get to talk to all the reps, see demonstrations, see the products, see the new innovations, see the latest welding machines that have hit the market all at one time. And one of the best things about it is just being around and meeting like-minded people. We all get burnt out in our jobs, and sometimes we need a shot in the arm, and going to a Fabtech will do just that. I met some great people. I talked to, I'm not kidding, I probably talked to hundreds of students, of welding students, and it was great. It was a blast. It helps me to know what is helping them. If you're on YouTube, in the description box I will try to kind of tab this thing, put a table of contents where everything is in case you're not interested in certain things, so you can fast forward, jump ahead, make it a little bit more convenient for you. But anyway, let's get into the video. I hope you enjoy this. Next week we'll get right back into the normal stuff, and I'm working hard on getting some dual shield flux core things going. Let's do it. Okay, up first we're visiting the Super Flash compressed gas equipment booth for a demonstration on flash back arresters and check valves. So what this guy is doing here is he's putting mixed gas, acetylene and oxygen, through this apparatus here with no flashback arrestor, no check valve or anything. And you can see that's what happens when you hear a torch pop. You get a flashback into the lines. So now he's going to do a demonstration using 5 check valves in a row, in line, just to demonstrate that check valves do not suppress flashes. They stop the reverse flow of gases. They don't always suppress flashes. See, that it can still ignite even though it stops the reverse flow of gas, but a flash is faster than gas flows. So now we're going to install the Super Flash flashback arrestor and take a look at what happens there. And of course, as you can imagine, no flash in that little clear spot there. That's the reason for flashback arresters on oxyacetylene lines. Up next is Detroit Torch and Manufacturing Company, and one thing that caught my eye is this little funny looking torch. This is actually used to be called a Henrob torch. It's a very unusual shaped torch like the pistol grip, and the theory is it runs at really low pressures and therefore produces a really soft flame that welds really thin metals. So I've tried one a time or two. Didn't really give it enough of a chance to have a say on whether or not it was a great thing or not. They also sell regular tips. This safety cart thing is very interesting. This cart design here that holds all your accessories, tips, and everything in a nice cart that locks up with ventilation holes. I thought that was pretty cool. Up next, Flame Tech gas apparatus. This was interesting. This is a little sort of a poor man's track torch. It's not motorized, and what it has is a speed reduction gear that floats free while you're lining it up, but then I don't know if it's clutches or centrifugal force or whatever, but it's a speed reducing thing where no matter how hard you pull, it pulls in a steady fashion. So you can also cut angles for beveling plates and things like that with no motor. And it gives you a consistent speed, so that was really cool. And then also just a regular track torch is available from companies like Profax. This is the Aquasol Corporation booth. They specialize in accessories for purging stainless steel pipe. This is some special aluminized purge tape, and what I mean special is some of it here actually has adhesive only on the edges and no adhesive in the middle where the weld zone is, so no contamination of adhesive on the weld area. And the white areas you see there is purge tape and purge paper, purge dams. They're soluble, water soluble, so that after the welding is done they can be flushed out with a hydro test, and it's just more efficient than purging a 100-foot line to confine the space that you're purging with purge dams. This is fiberglass tape for backing. They're easy wipe pouches that have isopropyl alcohol in them for wiping down a weld area. And they also have oxygen monitors for analyzing the quality of a purge. Now these are designed for stainless steel. They don't go down quite low enough in parts per million for titanium, but definitely good for stainless steel. And these are called purge bladders that are actually filled with argon. They're pressurized with argon in case there's any leakage. I have seen these used on aircraft ducting and also in fab shops. Something else they offer is called a Solu shim, which are basically just water-soluble spacer pieces for gapping stainless steel pipe. There's no risk of contamination in case someone accidentally used a carbon steel weld wire for a spacer, and if it falls down in the pipe, it's water-soluble. Up next is Triangle Engineering. You can find them at tryeng.com. And there's a test stand that they sell. You may have seen one of those in some of my videos. They supplied one for me for doing some videos with. Here's a wraparound style bend test fixture, hydraulic wraparound bender for bending straps out of pipe and plate. Triangle Engineering also offers testing services as well as selling all kinds of different pipe and plate coupons, like this monster coupon here. This is like a double extra heavy wall, and it extends the qualification limits for a welder. Because if you just take a Schedule 80, you're limited on thickness that you can go up to, and this kind of gives you more bang for your buck. They sell nickel alloys, stainless steel, carbon steel, aluminum. I've actually done business with them for quite a few years, ordering test plates for certifying welders. This is a J bevel, or a compound bevel, pretty common for heavy wall pipe in the industry. And that is called a chill ring or a backing ring with spot welded on spacer pieces that just snap right off when you're finished tacking the piece up. A real common test is a 3/8 plate with 22.5 degree bevel on each side with a 1/4 inch backing strap, and they sell test kits for that, as well as the 37.5 degree plate, which is normally just used to practice to get ready for pipe. And here's the 1-inch unlimited qualification plate test. It's got a wider backing strap on it. That's to comply with AWS D1.1 codes. I thought this saw was very interesting. It's sort of like just a basic circular saw, but with a mechanism on it that allows you to go around pipe in a straight line. I have read on different forums as well as my own forum that this used pretty successfully for stainless steel sanitary pipe and tubing, where you need a really good square cut with no jagged edges. Or you can, a lot of people just cut with a portaband and then file and file and file to get all the sawtooth marks off. But this is a really good finish on this carbon steel here. It uses a carbide tip type blade, and so gives a good finish. Now, Rigid has been making pipe cutting, pipe beveling, pipe threading equipment for years and years. That's a sort of a chop saw with a carbide tip blade there. And this pipe clamp is a pretty commonly used thing. It's a fit-up clamp. But what I'm interested in walking by the booth here is this beveling tool. I didn't know Rigid made a pipe beveling tool, so we're gonna take a quick look at that now. And I say it took this guy maybe 3 or 4 minutes to get the tool up there and positioned right. And then actually the total beveling time was not much more than 1 minute to go around this. I think this was a 10 or 12 inch piece of pipe, so it's a pretty efficient way of beveling pipe. Up next is Unitech booth. They make industrial size portable bandsaws as well as a whole lot of other stuff for prepping pipe joints. They seem to specialize in these really large, deep throat portable bandsaws that clamp onto pipe and then have a pivoting mechanisms for getting a straight cut. A booth called H&S Tool, it's hstool.com, actually rents pipe bevelers like this. This is an interesting booth, Maverick Testing Labs. All kinds of samples where they had done cross sections on really thick metals with multiple pass welds for evaluating and qualifying weld procedures. And up next is a really, really thick joint. See that hourglass looking shape right there? That's actually the V-groove from both sides welded with just hundreds and hundreds of beads. So this company's job was to cut it, polish it, etch it, evaluate it for quality. Up next is Laser Star Technologies laser welding. We're going to watch this guy, this little small laser, weld together some 1/4-inch diameter tubing. Now, it looks a lot bigger than that. It's magnified on the screen there, but you can see him pop a quick tack there, and then he's going to start welding over here, and his finger is right next to where he starts welding. That's pretty common for laser welders. I've seen people hold stainless steel countersunk head screws, like, you know, 1/4-20 screws with a countersunk head, and hold it with their fingers right next to the weld and turn it and weld it with one of these units. So that's a dog and pony show you see quite often at welding expos like this. I'm going to take a quick look at a nice little small benchtop positioner. I really like this thing. Now, I have a similar positioner in my shop at home. What I don't have is that quick release chuck right there, and I have used these before, and man, they make a difference. You know, if you're welding 100 parts for money, not by the hour, being able to get parts in and out of there really quickly and save a few seconds or even a few minutes off each part really adds up. And you can see the capacity, it really expands way out there. And this one has a through hole for being able to purge for stainless parts. This same company, Profax, sells portable rod ovens and all kinds of other things. These caught my eye. These are pre-made pad eyes, lifting lugs, something that you might weld to a beam or weld to an embedded piece of steel in concrete to put a come-along on and lift pipe or whatever. These are metallurgically controlled, they're certified, and also stamped on there as the material type, the capacity, what welding code it's to be welded to, the minimum weld size. They have them pre-beveled. These are forged parts. And I can see a lot of benefit here because there's nothing to keep somebody from using a pad eye, a homemade pad eye, with the grain running in the wrong direction and then having some kind of failure. This is fitupgear.com. Lots of different types of tooling for aligning plate. Shipyards, tank farms, and whatnot have to align big sheets of plate like this. And you know, oftentimes you do it with a crude manner. You know, with you tack on a piece of steel and use a pry bar with steel wedges and things like that. This just makes it a lot easier. Also, for joining and pulling the pieces together once you get them lined up. Got this ratchet clamp type of you know, you could also use a turnbuckle with C-clamps or something like that. I don't figure anybody watching this is going to go out and buy one of these, but this is the kind of stuff I like to come to Fabtech for. It just gives you a lot of ideas. This is a magnetic pry bar for alignment of plate. Really handy. You know, these days on shipyards and things like that, a lot of times when you tack something on, you've got to have it inspected after you cut the temporary lug off. You might have to have it mag particle tested or liquid penetrant tested, and having that magnetic thing would be a benefit there. Otherwise, you've got this whole other thing here using wedges.
If I want to close it, I just drive a pin over here. If I want to open it, I drive a pin on this side. So I can push, pull, and once I get it where I want it at, drive that in. If it doesn't flush out, which it's done that already, I can actually take out mismatch too. So push, pull, and fair with one tool. And then I've got a 90 here.
All right, this is Strong Hand Tools Build Pro precision welding table. You've seen me use one of these over the years. It's pretty awesome, I gotta admit. Anytime you're building more than one of anything, and sometimes even when you're just building one, you know, having the capability of fixturing up like this, just super versatile, any shape, any size, with V-blocks and flat bars, and all those holes are indexed on straight lines and at 90-degree lines, and there's really not much limit to what you can clamp up with one of these tables. Strong Hand Tools. All right, for marking small piping, like for handrails, these little tools can really be a time saver. Got little slots for soapstone and for marking 45, 22.5, 90-degree.
There's your 45 right there. Then there's your 22.5.
Need to mark a 45-degree angle.
I always advise people welding MIG uphill to shoot for a 90-degree torch angle, and that's what this machine uses. I think you can learn something from watching anybody, and I think you can learn something even from watching an automated machine like this. Up next, Mittler Brothers Machine and Tool. We're going to take a quick look at their ultimate tube notcher. Uses a swivel vise with an end mill to notch tubes. All kinds of different configurations and possibilities with that thing. Up next is Brakes a Lot Machines by Grisham Works. This is a portable press brake. Runs on hydraulic cylinders, and it's got a removable blade on there. You remove those pins and it allows you to bend a four-sided box up. And you can wheel it around on casters. It's much more affordable than a big huge press brake. So this is something a small shop would be able to afford and extend their capability a little bit. Now we're going to stop at the Fronius booth to check out the battery-powered AccuPocket welder. Running a 332nd, that's 2.4 millimeter 7018 at 90 amps. Really smooth arc, hardly any spatter at all. Made for a nice smooth bead. I'm not sure what one of these Fronius battery-powered welders costs, but I imagine it's pretty pricey. ESAW just launched a MIG TIG stick machine, MTS machine, lift arc TIG, DC only, and MIG and stick. There's Ian from Extreme 4x4. So this will do lift arc TIG, so you can do stainless steel, chromoly, and all that stuff. It will burn a 6010 rod, which is unusual for these type machines, and will also do MIG. This is Miller's Dynasty 210. Got the little SD port here, SD card port for installing updates and software and whatnot. They took the features of the Dynasty 280 with amplitude settings and all that, and they extended them over to the 210. The Dynasty 200 didn't have those features. This one also has the auxiliary power in the back for a cooling unit. This is the Millermatic 211 with auto set. This is an inverter power source now, the latest version of this. That could be good, it could be bad. I heard good things about the previous version, but sometimes with an inverter power source you're able to do more. This is the Multimatic 200. This is the lift arc TIG, stick, and MIG unit. Looks very well made, very well designed, and it's a little more pricier than the ESAB Rebel you just looked at or the Miller 210, the Power MIG 210 MP. All are very similar in their capabilities. All right, this is a new addition here. This is the Lincoln Square Wave 200. Very low price tag at about $1,400, and I think everything comes with it for $1,400. So very interesting. Very simplified interface on the front. This is Shane Love demonstrating it here, and it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. We'll be talking about that later in the coming months. Camouflage is everywhere at the welding show. Welding helmets and welding machines. These spool guns always catch my eye. This is Profax again. These are old school looking spool guns, but some of them have updated circuitry. That's got a new circuit board in there. So what's interesting about these spool guns is they're way more durable than most, but very modernized inside with circuit boards to control gas flow and things like that. Tip TIG is a proprietary name. It's a version of a hot wire TIG welding process, and they teamed up with Intertest, who makes welding monitoring cameras, and so their booth was kind of displaying the abilities of the process as well as the abilities of the camera to capture the arc. You can see it's a one-handed process, so the wire is fed through an attached wire feeder mechanism that's on the torch. And the wire is not only energized with a low welding current, but it's also agitated. So it provides weld pool agitation. You get higher deposition rates than you do with normal TIG welding. And because it's a one-handed process, it's very easy, or it's a lot easier to train somebody to make X-ray quality welds. That's the theory anyway. That's the story. I'm going by what I read and what I hear. I haven't personally experienced it myself, but I know it's getting momentum because the UA, the Pipe Fitters Association, is helping them promote it, and it's being used in pipe fab shops. All right, let's take a little tour of welding helmets now. Mostly auto darkening welding helmets and a few passive shade welding helmets. This is the brand new 3M Speedglass 9100 XXI. This is the older version, the previous version, just the XX version. Pretty nice helmet, but this one is a little bit nicer, it appears. A little bit better color. Probably roughly the same features, but one feature that I really liked on it is the external grind mode button. I want to have to reach inside your helmet to be able to turn the grind mode on and off. Another helmet I really like are Lincoln Viking helmets. I've got a 3350. It's kind of like my go-to helmet, but what's new is a lot of different graphics packages here. Chip foose, camouflage, more chip foose. All kinds of different graphic packages for the Lincoln Viking series. Save Face is kind of an unusual helmet.
So we now have the variable shade. This has been out for a couple of years now. Still has the passive shade lens holder that the ADF sits in. So when you strike an arc, you can see right through right here. So last year we took it a step further and we introduced our RFP. Now keep in mind this total viewing area is 23 square inches. We then took it to even larger at 40 square inches. Okay. This one's a 2 sensor, but we also make a 4 sensor as well. We also gave it the what we call our Flex Fit front cover lens. That's your consumable. It just pops in and out, just like that. And of course, it still does have a hard polycarbonate lens underneath it. This one's internally adjusted. Got it. And it still has the peripheral vision. So we're starting to produce Marvel Comics branded products. This one is actually a character called Venom. For Snap-on tools, we did Iron Man. Okay. 2 different versions of the Iron Man, and then just recently we did a deal with Lucasfilms.
Stopped by a little mannequin that had the Jackson Balder helmet with a forced air Papper type unit on there. Never got to try one of those, just thought I'd show it. All right, here's an unusual little welding mask here. This would be good for jamming your head in some tight spaces. It's actually a pair of goggles that has a hard shell underneath it, and you'd pretty much need to wear it with that headgear as well. It's a three-piece set like that. But I could see some use for that. Optrel. This is a new version of an Optrel helmet. It's a little different than most in that it's rounded and therefore is rated for welding overhead, which some auto darkening helmets are not. It's got this little slide plate here that actually kind of can help if you're welding next to somebody, prevent flash. It'll kind of halfway cover up the sensors to make them more directional. That's a unique feature I haven't seen before there, and the controls are outside, and there's all kinds of things to do with those outside controls with auto modes and everything, but I won't go into that. Swiss made.
Say it's been a long day anyway.
The grind mode switch is on the outside. Again, I find that a plus. Thing that people don't like about outside controls like this is if you are jamming your head up in an area, you can mess them up or you can change the settings. Cellstrom. This caught my eye. Little grinding shield here that's got a flip up tinted visor for plasma cutting or torch cutting with an oxyfuel rig. Then you've got a clear shade to grind with just by flipping it up. That's way better than wearing a pair of goggles, if you ask me. And I found this one pretty interesting too. The little Cellstrom flip front here gives you the option of grinding, and then it's a very small helmet, but it's got leather on the bottom and on the top to kind of compensate for that. So I would imagine welding outdoors, pipeliners and such would benefit from that helmet. And of course, they're getting on the camo bandwagon as well.